When it comes to spiritual practices, many people have this idea that they are, for example, meditation, that it's just someone sitting in silence, at peace, all those fluffy things. However, spiritual practices are far from just, the all fluffy, beauty, calm, and peaceful thing. And oftentimes, inner work, it is anything but peaceful. You can imagine the thunderstorms, the bad weather, all of things happening inside you, and all this chaos and all. And then finally, when the sun finally comes, it is not the final stage, When the sun, the rainbow finally comes after the storm, it is, just a phase, because then there are more layers and layers of inner work. And for example, one of the first spiritual practices that I came across, Vipassana meditation. I came across this years ago when I met someone who was practicing it for years. And eventually I've got curious and actually went to one of the retreats, Vipassana retreats. So it was 10 days of silence and learning this practice, how to do this kind of meditation, which is learning how to observe what is happening in our inner world. And I can tell you, it is not really just about sitting there and being at peace and all, because what comes up when we are finally silent and present with ourselves is often a storm, like all the things that we repress, all the things that in there, in the subconscious simmering and all there waiting to erupt like volcano, it all comes up when we finally pay attention. And then, you see, our inner world is like the 4 seasons of life. So there will be nice, fluffy summer, fluffy, spring. And then there is the cold weather, the horrible stuff. And it all happens within, and nothing is permanent. Yeah, which is funny because, in the Vipassana meditation, what they teach is that nothing really is permanent. It's one of the things that you end up learning. So that sometimes you have like these temporary peaceful thing, and then sometimes you have temporary storms coming up. And for example, there are many other practices for example, breathwork. The first time I hear about, breathwork, and then I saw the mattresses, because I've been in the Awareness Facilitator School, which is a school of 2 years, 6 models, and they teach modern therapeutic practices with shamanism wisdom. And the first time I was in one of the sessions in the retreats models, and they talked about, we are going to have breathwork. And I saw the mattresses on the floor. And I was thinking, maybe this will be a relaxing thing, learning how to breathe, all this pleasurable thing. But no, I can tell you, the first time I experienced breathwork, it was crazy. It wasn't really too deep, deep in the rabbit hole that many people already could go. But for me, it had a level of intensity of what I experienced. And I can tell you, for example, feminine inner work. When you hear the word feminine, it must be something soft, something nice, all pretty and soft. But I can tell you, for example, once I was in the session, again, in the school, and some trauma for my ancestral feminine lineage came up. And it was like a lot of rage that was coming up, lots of rage. And what I did in that session, I actually threw a chair to the wall nearby. That was nothing peaceful with it. And you see, shadow work, it's about tapping into our shadows. Not sitting in this nice, all life is like everyone in peace, world peace, whatever. But coming in touch with what we repress, all the negative things, all the things that makes us uncomfortable, that makes us feel ugly, that makes us, feel ashamed, embarrassed, angry, sad, whatever. All those things coming up, these are part of what real inner work and spiritual work looks like. And it's often really comes in layers as well. So people tend to think that, this person is really spiritual, or she's in some spiritual practice. She must be really peaceful, calm, mature, whatever. But you see, this can be achievable, okay? But for example, when people go to the gym, after the few sessions, you don't go to there and ask, hey, where are your muscles? You have been going to the gym now. It is the same with spiritual and personal development practices. Is that when we begin the journey, we have a lot that starts to unpack and starts to work. And usually even worse is, what happens is that it usually looks worse, like right at the beginning, before it gets really better. Because what happens is that we have so many things that we end up repressing, that we just walk around numb. And that's why we look peaceful, because we are numb and disconnected to what's underneath. And when we finally get in touch of what's underneath, then suddenly everything is chaotic, suddenly everything is too much, because there's too much coming out. And it's like, for example, if there is a flood that is happening because you unclogged a hole, that now the water is coming up, and now you're not sure what to do, where to channel those waters that's come up. It's a lot. And then often what happens is that we suddenly seem more dysregulated. We suddenly seem more lost in life, not knowing what to do with our lives. And then eventually we learn to navigate through it. It's like riding the waves. If we suddenly get thrown in the ocean, and then there are lots of waves, we don't know how to ride them gracefully, right? Right away. And it takes us some time to learn how to ride the waves. Then we look professionals in doing it. So actually, spiritual work, personal development, inner work, it's not really about, being all this peaceful looking person, all this kumbaya, or hugging a tree, and all this. But it's more about coming home to ourselves. Like, who are we really? What do we have inside really? And also, we as humans, this is part of human experience, that we have both darkness and light. And it's not really about, there's the darkness, I don't like this, and go away, go away. No, it's trying to understand, there's this darkness here. Why is it actually here? What happened that led to this darkness accumulating here? And then honoring its existence. Because, for example, when we develop certain insecurities and all those what we call sabotaging behaviors that we develop from those fears, they are just our minds not knowing better how to cope with things. So our mind, in its sophistication, figured out that, this might be the best way to handle things and avoid future situations that happens again. But when we are able to honor, this is here because this happened, and it is okay, and now we can, work things out slowly and all. It is more about being able to understand and accept and honor, And then we can begin to transmute this energy, because all the traumatic experience, when we are finally able to be at peace with them, then we are able to integrate them as wisdom instead of pain, because then we will not feel the pain anymore. It finally transmutes, and then we have a better understanding of life itself. So, for example, imagine that as a child, someone was abandoned by their parents, and then they carry this pain of abandonment. But when they come to adulthood, they gradually realize that, okay, I'm actually an adult now. And being like rejected or like abandoned by people in life right now, for example, in relationships, if my partner doesn't want to be with me anymore, it's actually not as bad as when I was like a kid. And now I have the resources to take care of myself as well. And just by this person going away from me doesn't mean that I won't find my own tribe. And by learning all this, and then also begin to gradually, for example, oh, actually my parents, what they do was not okay, but they did it because they didn't know better, etc., etc. So when we do the inner work and begin to be able to reframe what happened, and then we rewire how we react and respond to this kind of pain and situations anymore, then it becomes an incorporated wisdom. For example, when I realized how the nature of pain and suffering is like, not only I have more acceptance and compassion for myself, I now begin to have more compassion and acceptance towards other people. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, I tolerate bad behavior, because you can be sure that if someone is mean to me, I will still get pissed. But what I can do now is that now I still understand, okay, that person is being like that because they might have some issues or trauma and etc. So while I understand them, while I can be understanding of their circumstances, so I don't also take it personally, that is not my fault necessarily, then I can also implement at the same time boundaries. Either tell them, oh, this is not okay, and if you do it again, I am going to take myself out of this situation. And all of this, learning all of this is then part of the inner work. So, if you find this information really interesting and if you really want to know more, and also, if you have anything about personal development, inner work, shadow work, feminine inner work, if you have anything that you are curious about, yeah, you can let me know in the comments below, and I can maybe talk about it in one of my next videos. And if you really feel that this content resonated, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And especially subscribe so you can stay in touch with this channel. So see you next time. Bye.